Testing, testing. Alright, how's audio with the music? Welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in. Glad to see you all here. Should be a chaotic stream, but a good one. But just let me know if the music is about the right volume with my talking, or if it needs to be louder, quiet. Lower music by 30%. Good, good. Still quiet. Alright, here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do. We're gonna do a poll. Make it music louder. Good. Quieter. Alright. Here's a poll. Louder, good, or quiet? Alright, good seems to be the common answer. Maybe a little bit louder, maybe a little bit quieter. Alright, well, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Okay, we're switching off the summer event. Guess we'll start on the battle theme. It seems like most of you think it's good or a little bit quieter. Especially with this song, it's a little bit louder. Take it down to there. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Battle theme too loud? Yeah, that's what I figured. It's a louder song. Louder voice. Okay. Testing. The only thing is I don't want to peak in my mic. So if you want me louder, turn your volume up louder. Seems to be the solution. Alright. Well, we'll work with this. Alright. Let's switch over to the chaos. Are you ready for this? Here we go. So, 4 St. Patrick cities. Going to be all going at once. I have my main, which is actually in a town right now. But it sounds like I'm occasionally turning away. Yeah, when I go to look at chat, it's kind of to the side. What if I did that? Don't mind me breaking things. Don't mind me breaking things. Alright. I think we're in a good spot then. Alright. So hopefully now when I'm looking at chat, I'm talking a little bit more into the mic. That's what my second monitor looks like. Yeah, so I have 4 towns. My main, so Andresa? Yeah, I'm playing the event in 4 cities. Currently, I've really only been playing it on my main, but I want to try and get a little bit more progress from each of my other ones. Mainly just to get to the end of town boxes and then open those, because I don't really need the Celtic Tavern on any of my other cities. But I figured could just mess around a bit and see how it all goes. So my main city I'm trying to get into silver, and the other ones I really don't care too much. But how are all of you doing in the event? Rearranging some stuff. Alright. So, I'm gonna start my town on my tiny town, which if you want a sneak peek for everyone that's been asking, this is what my tiny town currently looks like. It's changed quite a bit since the last video I did on it. Still failing at whaling. Oh no, Malia. But yeah, this is my tiny town right now. Have a lot of event buildings in it, and of course the seed vault, because everyone knows the seed vault is awesome. Build one. Alright, so I'm just gonna get all these cities started. Don't hit the manager button, as quite a few people have. We'll have a bunch of cities happening at the same time. It seems like you're all doing well in the event. That's good to hear. Not the hat. Yeah, do not click the hat. Do not click the hat. Seems like, what was it? I think 60% of players were doing that from the poll I put out earlier. So hopefully we can get a little bit better. Now, this town on US 10, I'm actually going to do only level 1 managers and sort of do a comparison with how ahead or behind, probably behind, right, this town gets as we play through it. I'll just check off those. Crowd 60%. Oh my god. Are you guys enjoying the event though? I'm saying that like I actually made the event, but the stream should be a lot more relaxed than the previous one. Just FYI. Alright, yeah, let's jump into some questions. So what is my take on these new boosters that were added to the minigame? I think they're really good for players who are trying to get more towns done, but otherwise they don't really do too much, if that makes sense. Like Swift Sham, that's for more towns. Time Skip, that's for more towns. Managers, that one is to save pots of gold, but in reality I see most players using it to just go faster. So I feel like the boosters are all really designed around making your towns faster, and that's not what most players need the boosters for. I think that is something that hurts the mini challenges a little bit in this event. Maybe if there was a booster that gave you a free, like a second free chest, or you know, something a little bit better for more casual players is what I think would make them better. Or to accidentally save 40 pots on hats, that too. That too. My distraction is going to be really split as I'm just working on all these towns at once, but I'll try to keep up with chat. How high do you need to level your seed vault? As high as you want to. There really isn't a good level where it just caps out. The fact that there's no daily special is kind of a bummer. Yeah. I think it would be interesting if there was like a daily special that you could buy for pots of gold or something. And then that would give a little bit more strategy to when you're trying to figure out whether to spend your pots of gold or to hold on to them. But unfortunately, it is just the end of town boxes. Chat lag from here to the stream is killing me. Yeah, well, Malia, that's just how it works. Mr. Beans collab with Mooncat. I actually did a video for him, I think about almost exactly a year ago, which is like how to reorganize your city, or I don't remember the exact name of the video. But yeah, I actually did a video with him. The hardest part of this event is just having all these going at the same time. So we'll see what happens. Someone on your server has a 203 Arctic Orangery. Wow. That's impressive. I will say there's definitely a big drop-off for most players in the usefulness of leveling great buildings like that higher and higher and higher. So, I mean, there's worse things to spend your forge points on, but personally, I'd have a seed vault by then. What world is my main world in? It's US 26. Yeah, kind of hard to see with all these windows being small, but yeah, my main world is US 26. Feel free to jump in and send me a friend request. I tend to accept them. This world is almost ready to move on. Just a couple more quadrillion and then I'll have 4 worlds going at the same time. Like I said, it's gonna be madness. US 26, yes. Yep, US 26. Currently, I really play on US 26. What is this song? This is the Space Age Asteroid Belt theme. Okay, that's a little bit intense. So my favorite event was the Halloween event, the recent one with the card game. I thought that it was a lot of fun, it was really innovative, and it was a lot different from other events that we're really used to playing. Like the St. Patrick's Day event, like this one, we really haven't seen too much in the way of innovation, right? We got the boosters, but the task lists and everything have been the same for the past, what has it been, 4 years? 4 years? So I think having a much more new event is a lot of fun. And so I would have to say that's my favorite event. Have I played the anniversary event on beta? Yeah, the anniversary event was pretty good. I still have to actually play through it a bit more to make my video on it. But I will say, I think it should be a pretty good event. The boosters are very interesting in that event, especially the Prismatic Essence. So I'm going to be taking a look at that, hopefully figuring out a good way to use them. But I really haven't had the time to look too far into it. Least favorite event? Ooh. My least favorite event would probably be the winter and summer events where you're just flipping tiles. I'm not a huge fan of just pure randomness. I feel like it takes a bit away from the game. And I also like strategy I don't spend on the game, so being able to really take the time to... Well, I gotta turn down my audio a bit, it's kind of loud for me. Taking the time to really dive into the minigame and the strategy is what I enjoy about the game. So, oh no, okay. I gotta focus on my main town now. So I'll reset it. We're 32 tasks. And of course using my spreadsheet. I think the link might be in the description, if you haven't copied it yet. And nothing too good. This is what an ADHD brain looks like? Yes. Yes, it is. So much going on and jumping from thing to thing. Like I said, it's going to be chaos. I just figured I'm going to be spending the time playing the towns anyways. Might as well bring you all in for it and have a good time. What is my monitor size? It's 1440p. I think it's a Samsung G5. Uh, 297 forge points in inventory. Yeah, let's see. What's the actual total? Total 335. 335,000 forge points, including investments. I missed the spring event? Yes. Yes, the spring event was one of my favorite events, especially the art style. Especially the art style. You have 30 million points right now. That's pretty good for starting in August. I would be happy with that. Yeah, great job, dude. Hopefully we can start getting these towns into a bit more of a spot where they slow down a bit. So that I can really focus on chat and just kind of chat with all of you. This is the source code. Customer manager, done. I might have messed somewhere up on source code. But whatever. What's the arc level on my main town? Currently, it is 113. And I'm working on leveling it higher because I've been sniping a lot more recently. So I can afford to take those bigger snipes and make more profit off of it. I honestly really don't recommend I honestly don't recommend leveling your arc too high. I feel like a lot of players do that and then never really get the benefit from it. But if you're going to be sniping, there's no reason why not to level it higher. How is Mars? I really like Space Age Asteroid, or not Asteroid Belt. Space Age Mars. The fighting's good. I like the colony, and I'm just pumping out goods. But I don't know. I haven't tried any ages higher than this, so it's sort of a wait and see, really. Second mini challenge, yes, it will have the platinum upgrade. That has been more or less confirmed. I am falling behind in some of these other worlds, but we already explained what happened to the strategy you go with each server, how to tell them apart. Yeah, so everything but the lower right one is the managers as figured out by Mooingcat, and he let me put them into this spreadsheet, so credit to him. But yeah, just the managers and recommendations and everything in the spreadsheet is what I'm going off of. Oops, I went that a bit too far. Moving up when the event is over sounds like a plan. I was actually considering the same myself, but I'm just really enjoying Space Age Mars, so I don't quite want to move up yet. And I also produce a lot of goods. I have quite a few goods right now, so I'm going for trading down to Oceanic and Arctic Future so that I can finish leveling up my, what are these called? Arctic Harbor and Oceanic Terminal. I'm trying to get fully leveled crew members on each before I move up to Space Age Asteroid Belt. But I don't have too many goods of those, so I need to trade down. When do I think Quantum Incursions will go live? Soon. Very soon. I think we'll find out more information for that soon. Is what I'll say about that. Alright, so I'm going to grab the first question from the forum, which is... Alright, it comes from 2 + 2 = 4. I think that's... I don't know who that is. Sniping really a man of my posture? Yes. Yep. But this question is, if you ignore all tasks for fully focus Celtic Glassworks as much as possible, how much to get those kits, including level 1s and 20% box for highest chance for free? So basically, what's the maximum Glassworks that you can get for free? And the answer is, I don't really know. I think I did the math and it came out to something like 9. But depending on how you play the game, I think you could get more and really min-max it. Yeah, running out of space. I hear that. That's the biggest reason to move up. Is just I don't know. I really like Space Age Mars. Been here a while, and I don't know. My eventual goal was to go to Space Age Titan, but um, I'm holding off on that. I enjoy the fighting where I am, and in my mind, there's no reason to move up until you feel like it if you don't want to. Can I rate all future era from worst to best? Um, I think that for a lot of players, they like the fighting ages the best, so that would be something like the future era, like future era, um, Space Age Mars, Space Age Asteroid Belt. But something some players don't know is that if you're willing to manually fight, this might be a hot take, Oceanic Future can actually be a really good option because of the turrets. If you manually fight, you can get infinite attrition. That might be a hot take, I don't know. Reconstruction mode to settlements, that's a great idea. I would really love to see that. Actually, I think there's a question in the forum about like what features I would add, and I will be making a video on that soon. Sort of just what I would add to Forge of Empires if I was given control of the game for, you know, however long. There's a lot of small quality of life things like reconstruction mode and settlements, or other options that I think would make the game a lot better. So I will say, I think part of the idea behind settlements is to have it be, you know, a little bit trickier to get your layout figured out, because you need to find a way to, you know, get your expansions figured out or move your buildings around. And I think that's part of the challenge that they're trying to go for in settlements. I don't think reconstruction mode would really follow that vision. You'll get a fully leveled event building? Yes, we love to see it. Yeah, I'm glad it could help. In this world, I already have a nearly fully leveled Celtic Tavern. I'm just waiting on the upgrade from 400 from 400 tasks, but otherwise I'm nearly there. I should actually hit it on this town, I think. But yeah, I like the Celtic Tavern. It's a nice building, and it's green, and it fits in with my whole green area, because green is very nice, and I like green. My goal is kind of to get as green of a city as possible, but we'll see what happens, and I hope they just keep making more green buildings. Do I think Quantum Incursions will be better than Guild Battlegrounds? Now that is... you're asking for a hot take. You are asking for a very hot take, and the answer is that they are two very different features for two very different players. So do I think most players will think it's better? No. I think most players will still prefer Guild Battlegrounds. But I think that for the subset of players that likes city building, that likes negotiations, that likes manually fighting, I think Quantum Incursions is by far the superior feature. So it's basically just, we all know Guild versus Guild is best. It's basically appealing to two very different groups of players, and I think that's what I like most about Quantum Incursions, is that Quantum Incursions really isn't just another auto battle feature where you're, you know, spamming auto battle as fast as you can. It's something that might take a bit more thought or might take a bit more time to figure out. So, and there we go, exactly. Guild Battlegrounds is boring and repetitive. It's nice to have variety in a game, is what I'll say. I haven't been playing Quantum Incursions as much on beta as I would like to, because I've been doing the St. Patrick's Day event and working on videos. I have a lot of videos that I'm trying to get out, but I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it. But again, I think a lot of it is going to be figuring out what do other people think of it, because especially guild features depend on who you're playing with. So if your guild isn't enjoying Quantum Incursions, right, and decides to not play Quantum Incursions, then you might need to move guild to play Quantum Incursions. You know what I mean? So I think we could see some interesting guild dynamics. And Quantum Incursions, the rewards are so strong that I think it could be possible to see guilds that, you know, focus on guild battlegrounds or focus on Quantum Incursions, and maybe eventually focus on guild expeditions. Because it seems like the direction the game is heading is to have these almost fractured boosts from event buildings that provide boosts for specifically attack for, you know, guild expeditions, or attack for guild battlegrounds, or even from the upcoming settlement changes, attack for Quantum Incursions. So it's really a matter of, what do you want to play? Find other players that want to, you know, participate in the same things as you, and build a guild from that, instead of this is the guild that's going to be on top of everything, is what I really think we're heading towards. And I think that's a really good thing. I think that's good for the game. Attack for settlements, that would be funny to see. But Egypt is actually probably one of my favorite settlements, just because of the fighting. I think the fighting is really well done. Now that I am way behind on these towns, give me just a moment to catch them back up a little bit. 3 to 10, Flowers Factory, yes. Level 3 up to level 5. These to 25. Flowers to 25. Yeah, but I think what we're really seeing now is just a broadening of appeal to the player base. So historically, Forge of Empires has been very focused on, if you want to do well, you need to fight. And I think we're moving very, very quickly away from that. Which is a good thing, or it's a bad thing, depending on who you ask. I'm sort of impartial about it, and we'll see where we end up. Alright, the next question from the forum is going to be, and this one is a very good question. This one comes from Altanen, who I think is in chat. And they ask, the Higher Age Units Guide blog post created by me states that the last part of videos after the Industrial Era is coming soon, trademark, with all the Progressive Era, Modern Era, Post-Modern Era, Future Era troops. Do I have the time and energy recently to produce and release that video? And the answer is yes. I've actually started pushing the map, and I may have tried to get snipers and I couldn't get snipers, so I'll be investigating that more. But I am working on that, and especially for the Higher Age Units Guide, I was really waiting to do an update, because there's a lot that you know, needs to be updated in the guide. It's been a while since I've done an update. And the reason is because we had the early era speed up. And that was where, if you started the game, you would get a completely different quest line, and the research would cost different amounts. So I basically decided to just hold off of the Higher Age Units Guide entirely until we found out whether the early era speed up would be final or would be revoked. And it turns out that they removed it, so everything is the same as it is before. But that means that, yeah, I could try to display on the screen. So it's basically just figuring out a way to make the guide a little bit more streamlined is what I'm focusing on. Do we have a list of daily specials for the anniversary event? Not yet. I am sort of keeping track of them though. There's quite a few good ones though. For example, what is it? The Keymaster is a daily special. Like the previously Gold League paid pass only building. Is the second rival challenge coming? Yes, Tuesday. Tuesday at 8 a.m. server time, whenever Guild Expedition starts for you, is most likely when you will get it. Let's try... I gotta wait for this window to shrink down a bit. Alright. We'll just go like this. Alright, so this one comes from Masamu. And the question is, what quality of life feature would you like to be added to the game the most? And like I mentioned, I will be making a video on this, but for me specifically in terms of quality of life, so no major updates, but just sort of making the game a little bit better, I would like to see auto tavern sitting is what I would say. I think it's something that could use a little bit of love, and actually in that video I think I'm planning to mention is currently this tavern boost thing where you get 5% for 4 hours. I don't think anyone actually really cares about this boost. And on mobile, you have to watch an ad for it, which seems kind of weird to me. I don't know why you would want to watch an ad for it. So what I would suggest is get rid of the boost, okay? And instead move that ad that you can watch to basically tavern sit for all of your friends. And I think they would get more ad revenue from that than just watch this to get 5% boosts. Seems kind of weird to me. Yeah, that's what I would say is my quality of life feature, which happens to be adding another ad. But I don't know. I don't mind monetization. I mind monetization that doesn't really seem to make sense. If that makes any sense. It's like watching ads for incidents, and I think the castle gives more. Yeah, the castle does give more. A better tavern system in general. Yeah, that's exactly what I talked about in my video. Like better boosts, better uses for your tavern silver. Besides just, really the only thing that people are using it on is attack, the city shield, or the Guild Expedition's negotiation thingy. I don't think the other boosts get used nearly as much anymore, especially in an age where like event buildings build instantly. Do I think Inno will keep wishing wells as rewards for cleaning board when the anniversary event goes to live? I think they might. I hope so. I'm going to be playing that on my diamond farm, which is US 21 here. Sort of a fledgling diamond farm. And I think they will. They do seem a little bit too high of a percentage, but if you don't tell them, I won't tell them. All right, let's keep it a secret between us. How about that? Yeah, you use Guild Expeditions negotiations. Yeah, that's one of the maybe 3 tavern boosts that I actually use. Did I answer this one? Yes. So Alright, Alex the Worthy asks, when can we get a Tiny Town update? And the answer is as soon as Forge of Empires slows down a little bit. It feels like recently there's been a lot going on with Quantum Incursions, you know, new guild battlegrounds changes every other day, and I think more might be coming soon for that. But we keep seeing all of these changes and updates and new events, and it's a lot of work to make new guides and, you know, new resources to help all of you with those. So I need it to slow down a little bit, kind of catch my breath, and then I'll be able to actually do a bit more of those fun videos like the Tiny Town. Hopefully finally get around to a video I've been putting off for well over a year. And like, there's a video that I've been putting off for a very, very long time, and we'll see. But in terms of Tiny Town, this is it right here. So Seed Vault, currently level 17, courtesy of the awesome people in the Seed Vault only 1.9 thread. They helped me out getting it. And I'm just sort of building up event buildings. Currently trying to get enough fragments for one of the Shroom Thrones so that I can get, what is it, the Jumpin' Pumpkin, and place those down instead of blacksmiths. But it's definitely a work in progress. More guild battlegrounds changes. Let's just say coming soon. I think. I could be wrong, but I think we might be getting more guild battlegrounds changes soon. Polynesian Settlement, that's coming soon, yes. I'm excited about that, and I actually will be... I'm planning to rework settlement guides for all of that, but it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of work. So maybe coming soon, depends how much time I have. I know I'm going to try to get 4 or 5 videos done within the next week. So just a lot going on. The challenges change your event playstyle. Not really. I've kind of been focusing on just completing towns as fast as possible on my main city. So currently I'm at 385, which is just higher than Silver League. I'd like to get farther than that. And so when the mini challenges came out, it basically let me complete towns even faster. So it didn't really change my playstyle too much, but for players who were going for Glassworks, right? And you needed those pots of gold to open the end of town boxes, I think it changed those players' gameplay. Am I expecting blue boosts for guild battlegrounds? I think we'll see them. I don't think they're that far away, but we'll see what happens. And I'm saying that with no confirmation yet. Just sort of my own guesstimation. I'd expect Quantum Incursions and Polynesian before that, though. But we'll see what happens. If I could make any changes to Quantum Incursions, what would they be? Can it be a stupid change? Like, can it be a change that doesn't really matter? I would make it so that, well, we have... Let me actually pull this open. Alright, so we have, you know, the wonderful map. I really like how it looks. You know, we have the map. There's... We get... Today we're doing art with Uber, alright? So we have... You know, all the land. Perfect. I'm an artist. And we have the nodes, and they just sort of randomly dot across this landscape. So there'll be like one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. And my brain would really like them to sort of follow the progression of the land and then end at the castle. It's kind of a dumb change. It's not something that would really affect gameplay too much, but from just my perspective, it would make a lot more sense if the nodes kind of lined up with the map. Because currently you'll just have a node out in the water or, you know, just sort of hanging out wherever because it has to fit the grid. So I would like it if it was a bit more streamlined and then ended at the castle. I had a feeling I might be doing art today, so who would have thought you would have joined an Uber Nerd art stream? Out of curiosity, what would you all change with Quantum Incursions? Something I would all like. Honestly, I really like the idea behind Quantum Incursions, and I think it's a really solid feature from a bit more of a theoretical standpoint. I think there's a couple changes that could be done to bring it, to make it appeal a bit more to other players. But overall, I really like the idea of 10-hour productions or 20 hours per the town hall, so that you don't need to like wake up at weird times to do your productions. You can just, you know, set your production or collect your productions, go to work or whatever, or go sleep, wake up, collect, and you're doing good. Lacks guild versus guild features? Yes, it does. And hot take, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing. The one thing that I want to see is new features that we haven't played before. And I think Quantum Incursions accomplishes that, whether or not you enjoy it. It's something that we haven't played before. So I think it's good that we're not being stuck on the same features over and over, more or less. And all of that came from, can we get a Tiny Town update? So, what do you know? Now I offended 0.5% of all Forge of Empires players. No. Alright. So our next question comes from Alex the Worthy again. And that is, could we get a video about what New Age buildings are best? Analyzing the boosts from buildings like Buccaneers Bay and Grilling Groves, and realize they aren't that great anymore. So the people who are on my Discord server for a bit, oh, welcome in, Clown Pepe. The people who are on my Discord server a bit might know that I have a command that we sometimes pull, which is ! buildings. I'm just gonna send this in the St. Patrick's stream channel so I can copy and paste it. Uh-oh, is my bot? There it goes. And basically, if it's better than something you currently have, then keep it. If it's worse than something if it's worse than everything you currently have, then get rid of it. But a lot of it depends on what you need with your specific city and what your goals are. So if you're in Space Age Titan, you might value goods buildings more, right? Because you want a lot of goods so then you can sell them because they're really valuable. But if you're going for higher age units, you might not care about goods at all and only want to focus on attack. So basically, the big thing is you have to decide what you want for your city and really kind of where you want to go from that. Hopefully that answer makes a bit of sense. I really don't like giving broad advice for all players. I would rather just guide you for your specific goals. Did I do the mini challenge? And if I did, on how many? I only did it on my main world, and I completed 30 quests, I think, no, I did 29 quests is what I did. I think, maybe. I was sort of modifying it on the fly. But yeah, I thought it was good. But on something like my tiny town, let me close that. On something like my tiny town, I'm not really equipped to play guild expeditions. On my main world, I just bought a metal expansion, and now I'm saving up metals, so I didn't really have as many metals as I would have liked. But yeah, I really enjoyed the mini challenge. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think it was a good introduction to the game, at least for this event. I think the anniversary events, I haven't really looked at it, but it seemed kind of annoying. And the wildlife one was a little bit more, changing how you play the game. I'd rather a mini challenge where it's just sort of being able to focus on playing the game, and you get some rewards alongside it. You might have to play a little bit better or play a slightly different way, but I don't think the mini challenge should get in the way of you playing the game. What about my no selling town? Did I abandon it? Sort of. I sort of abandoned it. I'll switch off to it here. I still have it. It's just, I haven't really played it because it got kind of boring. Believe it or not changing your city is extremely boring. So I just haven't really been playing it. The infamous skill issue yet again. Yep. Yeah, I just didn't really find it fun. So I kind of quietly ended it, but I'm keeping the world around. Because you never know. You never know, might want to use it. Or something, I don't know what, but might want to use it. Oh, I can check that off. And I realized that I've been focusing on my main world and not really playing my others, but, we work on it. Let's see, you're on your 15th town with 700 pots of gold. Should you continue with the next town or wait until the mini challenge? If you're not going to be completing the mini challenge, like 32 out of 32 quests, you can actually start with 0 pots of gold and still make it through. So it depends on what you do. If you want to complete the mini challenge, then save them. If you want to just complete most of the quests, then you can absolutely start the next town. Just keep in mind that you may need them to buy managers and stuff during the town that you actually start the mini challenge on. Celtic Glassworks are not that good, IMO. I'm undecided on Celtic Glassworks. Personally, I'm not going for them, but I also don't really care for the whole Jesters gameplay. I think it's super powerful, but it's just not how I want to play the game. So I'm not really focused on it. And for those who are, focusing on building out cities full of Jesters, I think they're a decent option in this event, because the big things that you want for that type of city are chain buildings or buildings that don't need roads, and this event really doesn't apply to that outside of the glassworks. So it's just another way to include that style of play. Yes, the Houses of the Wolf are indeed getting power crept. But, I mean, you don't have to... Hot take, you don't have to delete every building that isn't great. But, yeah. Celtic Glassworks per tile is combined Jesters and Cartographer House plus Roadless. Yeah, it is. It's a decent building, it's just not one that fits with my playstyle. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Like, people can find value in it, but I don't think that it's worth the cost, because they're really expensive to get a lot of, and they're not renewable. Right? Like the Jesters, you can produce as many of them as you want. The Cartographers, they're producing other stuff. So You kind of have to weigh what you want out of them and whether that's worth it. And for me, the answer is no. Pretty new, awesome to me? Yeah, exactly. For some of us, they're useful. For other ones, we don't need them. And that's another reason why I'm not going to make a video about, you know, this is the best event building or this is the worst event building. Because so much of it depends on what you value in the game and what you want to build in your city. Oh, we're back to the battle theme. Alright, so our next question from Anonymous is, will the strategy for the second rival challenge be identical to the first challenge, i.e. rush Guild Expedition 64 and then start the town? And the answer is yes. I have the layout in here, and it should be, the rewards might change, so this might be a glasswork still, at least the milestone, or somewhere in the challenge there should be the platinum upgrade. But we'll find out. We'll find out. I will try to let you know as soon as possible, so that would be 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, whether or not the mini challenge is happening and, you know, are any major things different. But unfortunately, I won't be able to give too much more details on that until other players go through the quests. My city on Japan is really not kitted. I'll say that much. Is the power creep something that worries me? It doesn't worry me as much now as it used to. And the reason for that is, well, the systems in the game are currently really kind of hard-coded. They've been working to make them expandable. So, for example, in Guild Battlegrounds, there's now a little bit more fluidity in, you know, how many advances does a sector need to take, or does a province need to be taken? What is the max attrition? What's the curve of the attrition? And I like that they're messing around with that a bit. So hopefully we can see a little bit more detail on really kind of tweaking the systems in the game to make event buildings worthwhile and kind of balance them in the modern state of the game. So right now I think we're in a spot where the power creep is staying about level with the difficulty of the game, and it seems like they have their eye on it to modify the systems when it's needed. So right now I'm not really concerned. Still has the Temple of Knowledge. Wow. Yeah, power creep is something that this game is very interesting on, because, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're seeing a fracturing of boosts for Guild Expeditions, for Guild Battlegrounds, for Quantum Incursions. So I think we're going to get buildings that, you know, have a lot of stats. They have attack boosts for all these different features, but that also means that you might be having a more specialized city. So if you're going to be playing the Guild Expeditions, you're going to have a lot of Guild Expeditions buildings. If you're going to be playing Guild Battlegrounds, you might want to focus on specifically that. So what I'm hoping, honestly, is that we end up with buildings that have negative attack boosts or something. So if you want to focus all in on Guild Battlegrounds, you're not going to be equipped to finish Guild Expeditions or Quantum Incursions. So just sort of balancing strength in one area of the game to be separate from strength in another area is something that I really like. I really like. Maybe that's a hot take? I don't know. Our next question from the forum. From Anonymous. In late Middle Ages, should I keep the feathered serpent statue chain with only one of each serpent feather fin spikes? And this goes back to the manager, or not the manager, the event building question. So if it's worth it to you and it's better than something else you have, or better than the worst building in your city, then yes, keep it. But if you're noticing that you're getting a lot of event buildings that are stronger than it, or that you're running out of space and that it is the worst building in your city, then it's probably time to remove it. Jesterville still strongest strat trust, says Red. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure. One of the most surprising things to me recently in the game is that the value of the forge point is plummeting, right? You no longer need a high forge point production because you're getting forge points from so many other areas in the game. So something like the Panda Shrine with Jester stages and stuff, I don't know if that's going to be needed. Because if event buildings continue to grow while great buildings aren't, then the forge point isn't really valued nearly as much. Feathered Serpent, the best 2x3 building. Yeah. Personally, my favorite would go to the Tower of Whispering Horrors. I just really like them. But yeah, I've got a few Feathered Serpents myself. And I gotta switch this one out for one once I get enough fragments. This is my newer layout. It would be really fun to have a poll of everyone's favorite event buildings, but I don't think that's quite possible. There'd be a lot of scrolling between choices. Isn't the high forge points availability somehow a natural early era speed up technique? It really is. It really is. And I think that might be part of the reason that they removed it, because it's not really needed. And for a lot of players, those forge points are just coming from event buildings. So it's certainly interesting in terms of balance, right? How many forge points do you really need? And are great buildings really the focus of the game anymore? And my long-term guess is that we're going to see a lot more buildings. We're going to see a lot more buildings like the Space Age Titan great buildings, where they require goods and cost a lot of forge points and don't have sweet spots with 1.9 arcs. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more cases where forge points don't go as far, even if you have a lot of them. When face reveal, we're not doing one. Alright, our next question comes from Chiller Polino. And is it true that 99% of active guild versus guild players are against guild versus guild removal? And I wouldn't be surprised if that number was relatively accurate. But I think the important thing to realize with guild versus guild is that it's a very small subset of players who are actually participating in it. And that we're not really seeing the wide-ranging participation like something more like a guild battlegrounds or guild expeditions. And I do wish that there was more participation. Like, with minimal, like I know on my main world, there's not that much action on these maps. So there's no reason to get more people participating, which is disappointing. And I think that ultimately the reason it is being removed is because there's just not a reason for players to get interested in it. And even if they did improve it and bring it to mobile, there just wouldn't be a strong enough draw for it without fundamentally changing the feature. But for those that play it, it is fun, you know, it's a good feature. It's just that you can't keep a feature in a game that such a small percent of players play and affects ranking and guild level in such a strong way. So guild versus guild really just sort of is in an awkward spot in the game, especially considering that, you know, they announced it would be removed back in, I think it was October, and we still haven't actually gotten the end date for it. It's been 5 months, which is just kind of weird. So I'd expect it to be removed soon. But good question, good question. All right, this one is from Daniel V. And the question is, what's my favorite event? And I answered this early on. It is definitely Halloween event in terms of gameplay. But if we're talking about art style, it definitely has to go to the spring event. It was one of the best looking events. And I'm kind of sad that they removed it. So in honor of it, I have my cherry set still cooking and my pink area of my city. So I'm going to be switching this out for the apothecary once the St. Patrick's Day event ends. But I'm trying to keep it a little bit pink and sort of look really nice with all the spring event or other pink buildings is really what I'm going for. And I'll probably replace the Timeless Dojo with the, the last province once guild versus guild ends. So then this whole area is just kind of pinky, purpley, and a memorial to the spring event that unfortunately no longer is with us. I do think they kind of sabotaged it because they kept giving it really weak buildings, but unfortunately it just hasn't stuck around. Good buildings with no roads, cool gameplay. Oh, thanks. This question is from Anonymous, and it's, how many diamonds is my diamond farm producing per day? I don't know. Honestly. I don't know. It produces a lot. I get quite a few diamonds in total. If we pop open FOE Helper, I'll just show you. Oh, this window is too big. Let's make this bigger. All right. Yes, there's an easier way to do this. So this is kind of my diamond production over the past few, actually almost a year. When did I start tracking this? March 13th. So in 4 days, this will be a year worth of diamonds. So here I spent a lot on expansions, and I'm making a decent amount per day. So a couple hundred generally is what I would say across all of my worlds. But for specifically my diamond farm, I'm honestly not sure the exact number. When did I start playing? I don't know. I really don't know. I started playing during the Sacagawea event in 2018. But my main world started in August of 2018. So the actual story behind my username in Forge of Empires, UberHelp1, is honestly a bit funny. So I started playing the game as UberNerd14, right? The username I use for YouTube and for pretty much everywhere else. But I noticed, right, that the game has this really cool feature where you can refer people for diamonds, okay? And I, probably like a lot of other players, thought, if I only need to reach the Iron Age to get diamonds, right? 50 diamonds. Do you know how many diamonds that is? 50. I thought, I can do that. So I made an account called Uber Help 1. Right? We'll make another Uber art stream. Alright. We'll go back with that turquoise. I like that turquoise. Alright. There we go. So I went from Uber Nerd 1.4. Wow, that's messy. So I went from Uber Nerd 1.4 to keeping the Uber and making it Uber Help 1. The idea being that I would create a lot of these accounts. So it'd be Uber Help 1, Uber Help 2, Uber Help 3, Uber Help 4, and that I would use these to boost the main account to get diamonds. Okay. But something I realized is that my main account was not very well planned out, right? I had bad layouts, my great buildings were all messed up, I was in the early Middle Ages, and as we all know, the early Middle Ages are kind of rough. So I decided, you know what, I'm really enjoying playing on Uber Help 1, right? I'm having a lot of fun with this account. So what I ended up doing is getting rid of what was supposed to be my main account, right? I got rid of Uber Nerd 14. And instead, I just started playing on the Uber Help 1 account. And then I started a new world on US 26, and voila, I've been playing on Uber Help 1 ever since. So that's kind of a really roundabout way of saying just August 2018 is when I started on this account, but overall it's been a little bit longer than that. The problem with Guild vs. Guild for me is it's too much focused on the reset timing. As an active player that cannot play at that specific time, it makes the feature kind of useless. Exactly. That's one of the core problems with it, and they did try to change it, they tried to update it, but it never really worked out well. Just a small disclosure, do not do this. This is against game rules. This account is deleted. I don't have the password anymore, or don't think I do. So don't do this, alright? If you want to get diamonds, build a diamond farm, build a seed vault, and play guild expeditions and guild battlegrounds. Okay, that's my little disclaimer. But it's the story of how I started playing the game. Also, more players equals chaos and millions of good wasted. Yeah. Yep. So that's... And actually, the reason that I'm still playing the game is that when I joined US 26, right, I was looking for a good guild, and I ended up in the guild that I'm currently in, which is Arc Dynasty, which was last dynasty at the time. And I made friends and had a lot of fun, so I stayed in the game, and now we are still winning this season of Guild Battlegrounds. So it's nice to see. And I've stayed in pretty much the same guild for the past, oh wow, yeah, pretty much the entire time I've been playing. I took some breaks, dropped to smaller guilds, but I've always come back. From Thomas V, what is my opinion on Guild vs. Guild, and what is my opinion on the shutdown? So, time to alienate 0.5% of my audience. But I think Guild vs. Guild was a feature that was really fun for the people that played it, but failed to have the appeal that it needed to survive. I think that it is a lot of fun if you know what you're doing, if you have the trusted rights, if you have a good group on. But I think for most players, Guild versus Guild just wasn't able to appeal to them. You have to be on at a certain time. You're giving up tons of your units, right? For not fighting, you're just putting them into defensive armies. And for a lot of players, this game is casual, right? It's not, I'm going to log in at this specific time every single day in perpetuity. It's, I'm going to log in, I'm going to check the Guild Battlegrounds map, maybe do, 3 fights, log out, and have a good day. They're not going to, be super competitive. And that's what Guild versus Guild is. It's, showing up every day, time after time after time, and that is fun. That is fun. But that's not the sort of feature that most players are going to take part in. So I think the shutdown was something that was going to happen for a very long time. I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened sooner, but there just aren't enough players, and there isn't enough of a reason for these players to keep playing the feature, in my opinion. Yes, the mini challenges will appear twice during this event. Yeah, and I mean, I play Guild vs. Guild every day when I'm on at 8 o'clock. I open it up, do some fights. Currently working on the Contemporary Era map a lot, but it's just not something that appeals to most players and is able to really hold players' attention. So my opinion is basically that it's sad. I don't like features getting removed from the game, but I completely understand why it had to happen. Right? You just cannot have a feature that the vast majority of the player base isn't going to or cannot play, and yet at the same time make that a huge part of guild ranking. Right? Even before Guild Battlegrounds, Guild versus Guild has always been like the largest component of a guild's ranking by prestige. So it's just not a feature that fits the game. And that's tough. I like Guild versus Guild, but yeah, I am working on a video on it. I'm working on a, I think it's 14 minutes of video, just sort of going over the history of Guild versus Guild, why it failed, why players enjoyed it, and really what can we take from Guild versus Guild to make sure that features really are able to engage the player base, and what we can expect afterwards. Do I think Quantum Incursions will be easier for players to participate in versus the Guild versus Guild? Absolutely. Quantum Incursions has 2 massive things going for it. One is that there's no time component, so there's no requirement to log in at a specific time every day to play it, right? It's basically the same sort of login commitment as Guild Expeditions is. Just play it on your own time, and when you have the time, you can do a little bit of work to help your guild. In something like Guild Battlegrounds, right, you're still having to log in when those sectors unlock and when you're needed to play on those sectors. Or, sorry, provinces. But in Quantum Incursions, it's sort of just, build your settlement in the time you have, collect every 10 hours or so, but you don't have to, you can kind of wait. It's a lot more chill than something like Guild versus Guild or Guild Battlegrounds. And unfortunately, I don't think it's as easy to understand as a Guild Expeditions, but it's by no means difficult. So I think we'll see especially newer players interested in Quantum Incursions. I think a lot of established players are used to logging in, fighting at specific times. And I do think Quantum Incursions will fail to engage a lot of those players, but it's a different feature, basically. Hopefully that answers it. It's kind of long-winded. This question is from Linksu. Ooh, we got a long one. All right. What are my thoughts on real-time PvP manually fighting with no bonus boosts and limited to current age units? Players want to aim for high offensive boosts to auto battle fights, but this gets boring real quick, at least for me, and me too, I agree. By introducing real PvP with restrictions, it would encourage players to really think about how they use their units instead of unga bunga auto battling with no thought behind it. But of course, a feature like this is hard to implement due to matchmaking, etc. Yes, that's a very good point. And if you look at the PvP arena, matchmaking is tricky. I'm currently against a lot of bots. Oh, don't worry, JR, I will be making a video specifically about Quantum Incursions. That's one of the things I'm working on this week. I think the problem with matchmaking, and this goes for Guild Battlegrounds, PvP, for basically everything in the game, is that most of the systems for matchmaking, except actually Guild Expeditions, there isn't enough... There just aren't enough players in the game to make quality matchups. So I think without bonus boosts and limited to current age units would be really fun. And if you don't have to limit people to just their attack boosts and you instead strip out all of those boosts, I think matchmaking would be really easy, right? You just sort of do who has the best skill, or who picked the right units. So I think that would be fun. I would like to play that. Yeah, and imagine smaller EU servers too. Yeah, matchmaking is an issue. And that's something that we see a lot with things like Guild Expeditions. Or not Guild Expeditions, Guild Battlegrounds. Players want better matchmaking for it. But I honestly don't think there's enough guilds in the game on your server to make a quality matchmaking, right? There's only, what, maybe 20, 30 guilds in Diamond at any one time on most servers. And you'll have, one or two that are super competitive. You'll have the rest, varying levels of competition. And I just don't think there's enough players to matchmake with the current system. So removing the boosts, I'm really getting derailed on this, but I think stripping out those boosts would really make a quality feature. And the challenge with real PvP, so I'm assuming this is like you challenge someone and they're able to accept and you play a battle against them in real time. I think that would be really cool, but I think the fighting system in Forge of Empires isn't equipped for that. And I don't mean like they'd have to develop it, because they would, but I mean that the unit abilities and the unit movement and everything like that is really built around you just fighting a computer. For things like artillery, they're way too strong for units that are... Like, the battlefield is way too small. It's a lot harder to, kind of figure out a way to do that. That'd be fun, is what I think. But I would like to see real PvP. Or something where it's a little bit more on the nitty-gritty of facing other players. At the very least, I think something that would be kind of neat is like... you could, make a new message and like challenge someone to a fight, sort of like sending them an invitation to play chess or something, and then you could just at your own pace fight back and forth. But I don't know how well that feature would be implemented into the game. Could Guild Battlegrounds matchmaking be made between worlds and not only between guilds in a world? Potentially. Actually, let's try this. I'm starting a Q&A in chat. So what you can do is put your questions in there, and I should be able to pin them at the top of the chat, potentially. So then you could all see what I'm answering. But I think Guild Battlegrounds in between worlds wouldn't really work. And the reason for that is take a newer world, so a world that just launched, right? No one has really strong attack boosts. No one really has the ability to face each other. Now, what if you throw them against a guild that's the same rank on a different world, and they're really strong? So what you would get is, currently the system is that the top guild on your world is really strong. So yes, mini challenges will appear twice. So basically what would happen is you'd have all the super strong guilds from the oldest worlds dominating. And on worlds that are newer and players aren't able to fight as much, you would really struggle with that. So it's sort of balancing, do you want rewards split, like rankings across all servers, or do you want rankings across each world? And also the issue with inter-server matchmaking or inter-world matchmaking is that you could end up facing yourself. So say you're in a guild on two different worlds. So take this world and this world, and then they both end up facing each other. You know, which are you going to focus on? Which are you going to prioritize? And especially for some players that are really into the game and are in competitive guilds on multiple worlds, you could end up with weird times where you're kind of sabotaging your one guild to get more rewards for your other world. So I think there'd be weird issues with that. And I mean, you could be facing yourself in guild expeditions, but that's a lot less likely. Hopefully that makes sense. So which rewards would I dislike the most? I think the most useless reward is medals. I think medals need a use. They used to be a lot harder to get, right? You have your PvP towers, for example, and these give medals. Whoa, you're making what is it in... Okay, I don't know what it is in Space Age Titan, but you're making a couple thousand medals from your PvP tower when you can make that just from sniping, or from great buildings, even if you don't snipe. Welcome in, Dahlia. And I just think that medals need a better use in the game. There's no real function for them, or, you know, anything to really spend them on. There are victory expansions, but beyond that, what are you spending them on? You know what I mean? All right. Let's see how this works. All right, so I've selected this question. Joshua Guzman asked, are you playing 4 different accounts? And no, these are 4 different worlds on the same account. So the top left is US 26, the top right is US 25, bottom left US 21, and bottom right US 10. So no, I'm not playing 4 different accounts. This is the same account, just having multiple running at the same time. Okay, so 1600 or 16,000 for Space Age Titan Tower. Yeah, medals just really aren't the reward that I need to be getting, and they keep getting added to event buildings too. Does this one provide any? It does not. But occasionally you'll see medals on event buildings, and I just really don't think that they're needed. You know, it's like, yeah, like the Animal Crossing. Do we really need medals? I don't think so. All right, so the next question comes from Mr. Random, and that's, when will settlements be upgraded? And the answer is very soon. I believe the exact statement was something like after Quantum Incursions is introduced. So we just kind of have to wait until Quantum Incursions show up. And then we'll be able to, get those boosts for the Quantum Incursions and see how it works. I'm excited though. I'm really excited for Quantum Incursions. I always thought that guilds should have a limited number of players, like 20, because guilds with stronger players are usually the ones with more. Yeah, I agree with that. I guess I'm just spoiling the video that's going to be coming out eventually, but one of the things I would want to see is limits on guild size that are a lot smaller than 80. I think that would improve. I think that would improve matchmaking a lot, right? We were talking about matchmaking earlier. The more choices you have to matchmake, right? The more selection options you can make, the better your matchmaking can be. So then instead of 80 really strong players being clustered into one tiny space of one guild, you could spread them out across multiple guilds and have them face each other, and that could provide a lot more competition. If I was going to describe my favorite thing about playing Forge of Empires to a brand new player, what would it be? That's a good question. And Forge of Empires is the definition of one of those games where, I've played 1,000 hours of it, but I would not recommend it. It's a game that has, oddly enough, my favorite thing about Forge of Empires is just figuring out strategies and figuring out how to play the game. So I really just like that aspect of kind of messing around with things and figuring out the optimal way to play and have a reason to make, stupidly complicated spreadsheets. I just enjoy that part of the game. So being able to figure out strategies and have a community like all of you to discuss them with. How should we play most efficiently when there's no pots of gold left? If you have no pots of gold, you can skip upgrading managers, except for critical ones, or only level your managers to 1 level, and then sort of figure out a way to check in once in a while to click to make sure that your buildings are still producing. It's kind of tricky though once you run out of pots of gold. Average Uber Discord member? Yeah. All right, I'm going to get through the questions on the forum first, and then I'll switch over to more in chat. I like the theory of the game more than the practice of the game. No, I wouldn't say that. I really do like the game itself. But one of the things that really draws me in is just figuring out how to play it more efficiently. Right? I'm a spreadsheet gamer. All right, question 13, another one from Massimo. Do you believe Guild Expeditions 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 will be repetitive and boring to some? Yeah. I'm hoping that they manage to come up with ways to keep it interesting and keep it engaging players. But 10 levels of Guild Expeditions is a lot. That's 160 fights, and I hope it'll be fun. But I hope they'll switch it up. I think they did a decent job with Guild Expeditions level 5, but what I would see is needing to streamline the expeditions so it's a little bit faster to play and a little bit more fun than just 64 or 80 or up to 160 auto battles is basically what I'd like to see. Like, what if there was a level where you could only negotiate, or only fight, or maybe the very last level you have no attack boosts and you can only manually fight. Give us opponents with 4 waves. That would be insane. But yeah, I think an extra 5 levels of the same thing we've been getting, I think that will be stale. I think that will be boring. But if they're able to find a way to make it new and make it more enjoyable, I think it could be a lot of fun. Oh my god, choose one army for an entire level? That would be pretty cool. Or maybe every time you lose a fight, you drop down, or something like that. Yeah, something new. This one comes from TD, and it's, do you think ranking guild battlegrounds by fights would be better than points? I found that you get a season with lots of points means less fights. If you make the matchmaking and ranking based on this, I think would make it more competitive and accurate. I think that's a decent idea, but I think the issue still is, oh, so you're talking about for cross-world competition. Yeah, it definitely could. It definitely could. But I think, at least assuming it's still on one world, I think the issue still is just the number of guilds. But I do think ranking it by fights would be quite interesting. And that does provide a much better factor to say how strong your guild is than just raw victory points. Like this season, in my map, right, we only have just shy of 1 million victory points. But that's because we've been fighting this second place guild, so shout out to them, Ironborn on US 26. They've been giving us a run for our money, especially during the start. And you know, there'd be times when we'd be behind them and then we'd catch up, and now we're out in front. But I think having a lot of fights and having a lot of I think it would be fun to mess with different rankings or try to find different ways to matchmake. And what I would hope, you know, I don't work at Inno, but I'd assume they have all the data from all of these seasons, and they can then compare them and say, what gave us the most even matchmaking, and what could we choose to make matchmaking a little bit more easy to understand and more fair. So hopefully, again, I don't work for them, so I can't say, but I hope that they're tracking the data of how different matchmaking, sort of whether players enjoy it or not, right? I think it's one thing to say matchmaking for good competition, but it's another thing to say matchmaking for fun, which it is a game. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. All right, now I'll take a look at the questions we've been getting for all this. All right. This is a good one. This one comes from Mr. Random again, which is, do I think supplies and metals will be used in great buildings in new space ages after Titan? I like the idea of using metals to level up great buildings. I think that's actually a really cool idea. Supplies, I think too, we'll have to see when Space Age Space Hub comes out. But I really like the idea of using metals to level up great buildings. Supplies, I'm not too sure on. But I like the direction that they're moving, and I think we just need to wait a little bit longer to see, you know, are Space Age Titan great buildings going to be the standard? Is that going to be good for the game? Right? Once we have a lot of great buildings that need these expensive goods and are a little bit harder to get. So we'll see. And I know that's not a great answer, but yeah. Do I think they will ever add new boosts to the Tavern? Would be nice to use some of the millions of silver on something useful. Yeah, I'm hoping that they really rework the Tavern. and give it some interesting boosts. I would like to see more high cost, short time span, but really good boosts, so that you actually need to save up your tavern silver and, you know, get people sitting in your tavern to really benefit from these. Do I think metal bot attempts will remain in the guild expeditions update? My concern is how the cost scaling will be handled. Buying that many attempts to rush 160 would be dozens or millions of metals or more. Absolutely. That's a great point. I think that metal bot attempts will remain. I don't think they're going to remove that, but I think what we'll see is more attempts in the lower levels of the game. And I would hope that there would be set points where you 100% get more attempts, you know, to move on. Maybe like every time you complete a difficulty, you get 4 attempts or something like that. Because yeah, in the current system, if they kept adding all these levels, the cost would get way too much. I think it's a scaling of something like 1.2 times. So equals E34 times 1.2. Like if you just keep compounding that, it gets really high really fast. And this is starting from 10. What's my metal cost? Oh wait, I spent a bunch this season. But yeah, so like say we're starting at 200, you're going to be spending millions of metals. So I would hope that they give us a little bit something more. I don't think the scaling is a bad thing. I like how it scales exponentially, actually. Because it makes it harder to rush, but Bottom Right City is so neglected. Yeah. I've realized that I can't focus on the towns and keep talking, and I'd rather interact with all of you. 130 attempts would be kind of crazy, though. Do I think Inno will change the Diamond League so there will only be one? I think that alright, we're going back to an Uber art stream, right? Let's make our... Okay, the Space Age Asteroid Belt music is crazy. Okay, so there's currently what? 5 leagues? We have bronze. We got silver. We have gold. Alright, I might move up to Space Age Asteroid Belt and just be there to turn on this music, because this music is actually pretty good. Then we have Platinum. And then we have Diamond. Look at my wonderful artistic representation of these leagues. Beautiful, right? Alright, and now, if I believe how the system was expected to function is that you would have guilds something like this. So a bell curve, right? Most of your guilds would be in gold, and you would have tails on either end, so very few guilds are in diamond, right? It's hard to get into. But the problem is that all of these lower leagues, including platinum, really aren't that hard. If you have a group of determined players, even like 5 players, you can probably make it to diamond very, very easily. And the reason for that is that there just isn't, again, there aren't enough competitive players in those smaller guilds. So instead of having the curve kind of look like this, you do still have a lot of guilds in gold, but if you want competition, it's basically something like that in terms of the level of competition you're facing. So what we'd want is for these curves to kind of align a bit more. So you would end up with something like competition kind of scales like that. And I realize that I'm not good at drawing straight lines. So we'll go something like that. What you would want is something more like that. So then it starts off easy, but it just continues to get harder and harder and harder. And that's something that we're not seeing. A one-person guild can get to plat with a bit of luck? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, maybe your curve would be a little bit more curved, but the issue is right now that all the competition is in Diamond, and not even all of Diamond, just really kind of the highest leagues or the seasons inside of Diamond. So the issue is the competition, really. What question was I even answering for that? Oh yeah, Diamond Leagues. Let's see. Thinking of deleting my Lighthouse of Alexandria. Is it worth it? So personally, I deleted mine not too long ago. Basically, the only reason to have it is if you need supplies. And a lot of players don't need supplies. So, for me, things like the Himeji Castle, the Seed Vault, here's my Seed Vault, love this thing. They give you enough supplies, and especially with event buildings, that you don't really need that many supplies. So, yeah. I would kind of get rid of it. But again, if you need supplies, especially if you're planning to age up soon to higher ages, that'll use a lot of supplies. The lighthouse could be worth it. UNC is too good. What can you do? Yeah. Yeah. I like the idea that they're finally doing some better rewards. So, your Tower of Champions, but I don't think the Tower of Champions is the solution. I think that the issue is you're either in... Alright, we're going back to Uber drawing. I like this. Here's kind of how it works. You have 3 groups of players. You have group 1, which is those that are going to get the level 2 tower every single time. Right, here's our little castle. They get the level 2 tower every single time. Then you have, and these are the hardest fighters, they're the ones that can work together, they're really good, right? These are the top guilds on your world. And then you have group number 2. Okay, and these are the guilds that are really good fighters. They're really good at working together, but they're just not quite good enough to win their seasons. Okay, so these players are placing in 2nd and maybe 3rd, and they're trying, but they're just not able to win a season. Okay, and here's the issue. With only getting... when you're only getting 1,000 fragments for 2nd place, that means that you need to win a season to get even the level 1 Tower of Champions. So if you're unable to do that, but you fight really hard across all 6 of your seasons, you end up with nothing. Right? Nothing at all. We'll draw a sad face. But now you're in the 3rd group, okay? And these are either guilds that are in the 2nd category and are really strong, they're good working together, but they decide, do you know what, instead of just fighting really hard to get nothing, we are going to fight really hard when we're in lower diamond seasons and fight easier, or, kind of slack off in the harder seasons so that they kind of bounce between diamond. and they win 3 rounds every single season. And these players, or these guilds, are the ones that end up with the level 1 Tower of Champions. Right? And so I think the issue with the Guild Battlegrounds right now, and especially the Tower of Champions, is that you really only have 2 options that are worthwhile, right? Oops. And that's either going to be you're in a top guild where you fight the hardest possible to get the level 2, or you're going to be fighting only half of the seasons and you're going to get the level 1. And for the players who just want to, do a lot of fights, they aren't rewarded for that. They're getting their forge points, but they aren't getting the Tower of Champions. And that just feels wrong to me. And I'm not sure what the solution is. I'm not a game designer, but I don't like how it really divides up guilds into that category. Like, usually what happens with my main here is we're not, we just don't have the raw players to go up against the strongest guilds in our world and win enough seasons to get the level 2 Tower of Champions. So we could, probably place in second, maybe win most of our seasons, but we wouldn't get the Tower of Champions then. So what we have to do is we have to basically do nothing every other season to make sure that we drop down to a lower season where we then usually end up dominating a much easier competition. And that just really doesn't feel good to me. I think that it just really makes the feature feel kind of bad. I don't know if any of you have thoughts on that, but yeah, it's just a really weird spot to have all of these fragments. When it comes to getting diamonds from Guild Battlegrounds, it's way OP. Average 90 diamonds each day, 400 to 450 fights daily. Yeah, you can get a lot of diamonds. Hello, Matthias. Welcome in. And Schiller Polino, 1,500 fragments. I don't think that's the solution. Like, in my mind, first off, there has to be a way to get the old Tower of Champions. I don't think it can be a one-time thing. There has to be a way to get older Towers of Champions. And then the issue is also, how do you figure out the quality of the guilds, right? Because sometimes you might have a really good guild that's sandbagging to drop into a lower season, or you might have a guild that's fighting really hard, but the rest of them aren't because they want to drop down. So it's just like, what's the best? The solution that we currently have in place isn't prioritizing winning the season for most guilds. Because if you can't win that season, you want to lose. Right? It's prioritizing basically the fragments over quality competition. So it has increased competition for those top level battlegrounds where guilds are trying to fight for 3,000 fragments. But the issue is that the fragments not I don't know, I'm kind of rambling now. I hope it makes some amount of sense. My guild simply gave up fighting hard on guild battlegrounds because one guild dominates it and uses another guild as puppets to block us and keep us from fighting, and we suspect that they use bots too. Yeah, it's sort of like that too, right? Because you can have agreements with other guilds. So, well, how do you say that this guild isn't doing well when they're just getting stuck in their headquarters every time. And especially something that's annoying is from a player standpoint, when you log in and there's nothing to hit, so you're unable to get any fights in because, you know, all the sectors are locked. So, I don't know. I think Guild Battlegrounds could see a lot more changes and could be, and especially with attrition. Fragments should only be at 1000 LP. I've seen that sentiment. And I don't know if I agree with it. I think that what I would like to see is that there's some renewable way to get fragments. Okay. Besides winning in Guild Battlegrounds. And I don't know what it is. Maybe participating in the Guild Battlegrounds gives you a little building that produces fragments of them, or something, right? So that you can eventually get the towers. But I would like to see even lower. So back to our drawing board here. Something like Platinum League being able to get a few fragments, and Gold League getting a few fragments, so that basically everyone is able to get the building eventually, but more competitions. Guilds merge so that they can get their towers. Only third place is available, so it's hard for others. That's resulting in my guild demanding more presence than Season 2. Yeah. That's the issue, right? You either have to be all in, and also what Chiller Polino just said, which is that they'd have to sacrifice a lot of fights. And yeah, it's what do you value more? Do you value the rewards that you can get right now, or do you value the rewards from the tower over time? And that's really the question. So, was I supposed to level something? I feel like I was supposed to level something. No, the levels all match up. Okay. It's like, do you level... Not do you level. What does your guild want? Do you want to get those fights, or do you want to get the tower? And that's something that my guild actually discussed, and we decided we're going to be going for the tower, and we're fine taking that season, that every other season, and dropping down. But depending on your server, yeah, it may not be an option. So it's kind of rough. One thing that we have been doing in some of our seasons where we're dropping down is we, or I actually reach out to the 1 or 2 guilds that are dominating the map. And I basically say, hey, we're trying to drop down. Would you be willing to swap the sectors in front of our base so that we can keep loading them and getting fights in? Even if we're not taking sectors, we can sort of figure out a way for us to get those fights in. Maybe not as many as a normal season, but being able to drop down. Players migrating between 2 guilds and 950 to get more fragments. Have they been doing that? I haven't really seen that as an issue. I haven't seen too many players swapping back and forth. But yeah, it is interesting. I think it was a good update to have, but I'm not sure. All right. Checking back into the Q&A. Here's one from Masamu, which is, would implementing the top 50, 25, so basically the system from events, right, the leagues from events into Guild Battlegrounds be a good decision? So only 1% would be in that gold, or in Guild Battlegrounds case, diamond. And that's a really interesting idea. But I think that right now we're already seeing that happen, where we do sort of have players spread out like this, right? So we do have a very small number of guilds in Diamond League, right? I think for most worlds it's something like maybe 20, 30 guilds in that league, but there's 774 guilds on my main world. So, 774 or 30 out of 774, that's 4%, 3 or 4% in Diamond League. And if we look at 1000 LP, it's even less. So I think that's already happening. And it's just an issue of getting more guilds to participate to make the competition and the leagues actually more worthwhile. Right? Because there's no competition in gold. There's no competition in silver, and there's definitely no competition in bronze. But yeah, I think having event leagues could be interesting. I'm just not sure how it would be implemented. But interesting idea. Interesting idea. And then this one comes from Dragon Ring, which is many players quit Forge roughly 2 weeks after they started their city. What motivated me to keep going and research the game's features and make charts, and how did I discover Forge of Empires? So there's a couple questions in there. And I think in terms of players leaving the game, yeah, I do think that's an issue. Because there's not a lot of active players. It's something like maybe a quarter to... no question, just came to tell you we are pleb. Thanks, Ninjalin. So I think for most worlds, it's 20 to 25% of players that are actually active, and I'm taking active to mean number of players that actually log in and play an event once, like a month. And I think a lot of it is that it's just a hard game to understand, and a game that in a lot of cases does require habits. So, for example, playing events, you have to be logging in every day, and that's something that a lot of players aren't able to do. So I think it can be a lot upfront for players, and there's a lot of systems in this game, right? Like, especially at the start of the game, once you get through the Bronze Age, you're introduced in the Iron Age, where you get great buildings, you get daily challenges, you get guild battlegrounds, you get guild expeditions, you get guild versus guild, even though that's going to be removed, you get reconstruction mode, you get cultural settlements. It's so much coming, and eventually quantum incursions. There's so much coming at the player that it can be a little bit too much to understand. And then I'll start jumping in here with how I discovered Forge of Empires, which we'll see if I can do it again if I just Google best browser games. So there it is, Forge of Empires. So I, like a lot of other players, I think anyways, was just kind of bored, and I was looking for a game to play. So I, played IO games, got sick of IO games. A Dark Room, highly recommended actually. But I was looking for a game to play, and I found Forge of Empires, and it kind of was enjoyable. I met some nice people in the first guild I ever joined, which was the Vanguard on US 4, actually. I don't know if any of those players still played, but they welcomed me in. They really helped me learn about the game. So for me, once I was able to build up that base in, playing the game a bit, and I played for probably something like 8 or 9 months, and then the cultural settlements were released. So this is back in 2018, right? And if I go to the forum, this is when I first launched my Cultural Settlements Guide version 1.0. And then it got torn apart because I basically wrote it as, you know, hey, I'm not sure how to play, but I'm going to take a stab at it. And then that guide got torn apart. It was badly written. It didn't really help anyone. And so what I did is I took a month and I went through, I made new charts, and I did all of that. So I was basically like, I want to make a good guide. And I made that guide and I published it as my Cultural Settlements Guide. And I've continued to update it, but at first it was just Vikings. So I completed this guide and I was like, you know what? I enjoyed writing the guide. I enjoyed making those charts. I enjoyed figuring out strategies. And then I thought, well, why don't I keep doing this? So that was sort of how I got motivated to research and figure out charts, because with the Cultural Settlements Guide, I was diving into the wiki, I was playing the game, and then especially for the Higher Age Units Guide, this thing has 83 pages of comments, and I would literally spend hours digging through the Forge of Empires wiki, looking at quests and how they connect, and figuring out, you know, just sort of figuring out how the whole game works. And that's something that I enjoyed. So, I enjoy learning about the game. I enjoy figuring out strategies, and that's sort of what I've continued. I don't think that it was something that immediately, you know, I thought would be an option, but here I am. Good question. Good question. Do I think merging servers to have more high-powered guilds in one place would help? Yes, but no. Is what I would say. This is a question from Mad Mango. And the issue here is that you could have your issue with merging different worlds, and I know you said servers, but that would probably mean a merging of worlds too, is that you could have someone playing on both of those. Right? Whether it's worlds or servers, you could have someone with a separate account or the same account or whatever it is playing on two different worlds or two different servers, but it's the same person. And then you merge those and suddenly they can be facing themselves. So I'm not really sure what the solution would be. And I would say I think a merging system would be interesting, but I don't know of a way to do it that would make sense. Because, for example, say you have a newer world and an older world. On the newer world, you'll have players who, you know, don't quite have high-level great buildings yet, but on the older world, they'll have, you know, tons of great buildings, tons of event buildings, and they'll be really strong. And then you merge that, and the guilds from the newer world that, you know, were strong there aren't as competitive. So I think that would just be kind of tricky. For Don saying how many tasks should I finish in each town? Yeah, about 32 in each. And for Druid kits, what you want is the end of town boxes. So once you finish a town, you can get end of town boxes, including and those can include a Druid Hut selection kit. It's something like a 50% chance. Focus on completing towns to get to the end of town boxes and for the mini challenges. Yeah. If you want my exact recommendations, you can copy my Forge of Empires my St. Patrick's Day spreadsheet, which is in the description potentially. Is it in the description? Let me just check real quick. It is not in the description. It is on my St. Patrick's Day video. And it has the recommendations for which tasks to skip and when to level up managers. Are the last two tasks on the rival event only for people who pay for stuff? Not necessarily. So, the last two, if you want, in this case it was a Celtic Glassworks and a Finish All Special Productions item. If you want those rewards, it can be well worth it. But a lot of players won't really need them, so it kind of depends on what you find value in. Personally, I don't think it's worth it because I don't need those rewards, but I know a lot of players who definitely will be spending those pots of gold to get them. It couldn't just be a blind merge, it would need to be researched. Yes, definitely. But I think the issue is, how do you tell who's the same players? Like, say you're merging two servers, like, I don't know, the Japan server with the Thailand server or something. How do you know someone doesn't have an account on both of those? It just gets kind of messy. And this is coming from someone who doesn't know game design, so don't take my stuff don't take what I'm saying as, you know, law. Alright, maybe I should play a little bit on these other worlds now. I think I've neglected them enough. Any update on the end of Guild versus Guild? No, we do not have an end date yet. I will say I expect it to be soon. Potentially very soon, but we don't have any confirmation of an end date. There's rumors floating around, but we just don't know anything for sure yet. What do you think? When should Guild versus Guild be removed? Or even, do you want Guild versus Guild to be removed? Will I be at a disadvantage in the new one not ever having played Guild versus Guild? Not at all. Not at all. You'll be able to jump right in and no prior knowledge needed for Guild versus Guild wise. Quantum Incursions is entirely different, and it's not even close to the same sort of feature as Guild versus Guild. So you'll be absolutely fine. Four months ago. Are all these cities on different accounts? Nope, same account. Just different worlds. So this is, the one at the top left is US 26, it's my main. The one at the top right is US 25, it's my tiny town. The one at the bottom left is US 21, it's my diamond farm. And the one at the bottom, I think I said bottom right for the other one, the one at the actual bottom right is my dumb diamond farm, where I have just the sea vault and one wishing well. So same account. As soon as possible, you don't have that much army. Yeah, well, the good thing about Quantum Incursions is that you don't need a strong army, because you'll get most of your boosts from the feature. Or potentially the cultural settlements. Make sure you're playing those if you want to be competitive. And hi, Xander. Welcome in. Yeah, in my mind, Guild versus Guild probably would have been removed a while ago. How's the anniversary on beta? I heard the rival for that is quite impossible to finish for free. I heard the same thing about the first one. I didn't play the second one at all, but it seems that the second one is a lot easier to complete. And it might just require spending some event currency, but the rewards look really strong. So I'll look more into it and I'll let you know in the event video that I make for it. How's that for an answer? um, yeah, it's just that I haven't really had the time to play the event too much because I've been focusing on the St. Patrick's Day event and some real life stuff. I think it'll be a fun event. It's just gonna be kind of tricky. Is the rival one time this event? It will show up again, most likely on Tuesday. And good night, Gabriel. Have a good night. Make this event so much more. Oh, you didn't know you could have different cities open at the same time? Yes. Yes, you can. The game is a lot simpler that way. I usually have a couple tabs open, each of my cities in one of them, and then you can just switch between them and keep an eye on things. Just be aware though, it can get a bit crazy like this when you have 4 different cities all going at the same time. Yeah, so if you try to open the same city, it will give you a warning saying that Forge of Empires is open in another tab. But since these are different cities, you're able to play them. Is the split screen a PC thing? Yeah, this is on a PC. Yeah. Just have a bunch of different windows all put together. The stronger you are at Guild Battlegrounds, the more tourney grounds, which gives 25% all boosts. Yes, as Aaron said, make sure you're getting your tourney grounds in. On a weaker PC, it can be a little problem. Yes, yes, it can be. Personally, what I do, I mean, I have a 1440p monitor, so it makes it easy to read everything. I think the stream might be a little bit compressed in terms of readability for stuff, but for my PC, it's able to handle it. If you have like a laptop, like on my laptop, I usually only do one world at a time. Yeah, if you're able to handle it, go for it. Do you know how much time Incursions will require daily? On average, this game is starting to become a full-time job. Good news, it won't require too much. In my mind, it requires less than Guild Battlegrounds, so I would say pick which one you enjoy more and focus on that. And remember, you don't need to play everything in the game. For example, you can skip out on you could skip out on Quantum Incursions, but you could skip out on the PvP arena or the cultural settlements, or skip out on the antiques. Skip out on the antiques dealer, which I do not because I farm castle points. And actually, we're going to buy these out. Yeah. In the past, I try to play on PC with my mobile, but it kicked me out even with different cities. Interesting. Yeah, and welcome in, Wally. Nice to see you. Right, I'm gonna grab a quick drink of water, so I'm gonna mute for a second. Yes, friendly reminder to hydrate. Stay hydrated. Got me some nice ice cold water. I recommend you to get some too. Buy the forge points too. No, I'm not gonna buy the forge points. I only buy stuff that's renewable. Antique Stealer is the most important part of the game. Yes, it is. I generate tons of castle points from it. And pro tip for everyone on stream right now, I was about to say 9,000 trade coins is usually enough to win most auction items, but not in this case. But generally 9 to 12,000 trade coins, if you just put it on as soon as the auction starts, I win about 50% of my auctions. So you can get a lot of castle points from that every single day. Is the guild versus guild on beta soon? Or on beta soon? I can't talk. Is it on beta 2? And the answer is no. It's completely gone. Gone, destroyed. Let me see. Am I logged in on beta on this account? Nope, I'm not. Oh, maybe I am. Yeah. But it's not active. The little guild versus guild button is grayed out. You can't access it. And Quantum Incursions is taking its place. What is my favorite age in terms of art style and units? In terms of art style, my favorite would probably be the Iron Age. I think it looks really cool. Must not have been water since you can't speak now. No, I swear, it's water, it's water. I wish I had lemonade. But my favorite age is probably the Iron Age in terms of just how everything looks, but in terms of higher ages, the issue is that the more you play the game, the farther you move away from the same art style, right? Like, I'm in Space Age Mars, but the only way you can tell is that my town hall is Space Age Mars, and the roads. Everything else is event buildings. But I really like how the virtual future looks, and if we're talking, if you let me include the colonies, I think that Space Age Jupiter Moon is one of my favorites. In terms of units, I think the best fighting ages, in my mind, were Industrial or Progressive Era with higher age units. Virtual Future was really fun, and you could go to infinite attrition, and then the Space Ages are pretty decent for fighting, except for Space Age Titan. Do I think terrace farms have been power crept? Yeah. Yeah, they're not as strong anymore. I remember really wanting one when I first started the game, and I kept a bunch around, and then don't use them too much anymore. Who can play on beta? Anyone. Anyone is able to. Go to, I'll type this in chat, zz0.forgeofempires.com, and you can play on beta. So, join in, I guess. Why do I sound different on Livestream versus my videos? The answer is that I do processing on my voice in videos to reduce noise, to reduce like echo, and then I run it through an equalizer to clean it up a bit. So on a live stream, I'm using NVIDIA Broadcast, and this feature does it live. So like I could turn it off, and this is going to sound a lot worse, or I can turn it back on, and you know. But when I'm recording audio for videos, I do it slightly differently. So it's just sort of the flow of my audio is different. But yeah, same voice, same me. When will the next age after Titan start? We don't know. We don't know. We didn't find out any information for Titan until I think it was mid-March. So we're getting close to the time when we would know if we're going to get a new age or not. Any settlement in terms of design. The settlements are the most distinct, and I really like how the Mughal settlement looks. It's just beautiful. It's gorgeous. I think by far it's the most beautiful settlement, and I completely forgot about this for the past couple of hours. So, oh well. Let me just produce some more. Vikings is cool, but it's a massive flashbang whenever you open it because it's bright white. My favorite settlement though is Egypt, because you get, you know, the fighting, and the fighting is so good in Egypt. I love the fighting in Egypt. Show my tiny town? Sure. Here you go. There it is. Yeah, so I've played the past couple of events in it. I don't think I'm going to get the Celtic Tavern because it doesn't really fit. I was thinking of going for the Silver League building or the Bronze League building, but I realized, A, I don't want to do that many towns in the St. Patrick's Day event, and it's kind of hard to complete quests when you don't have a lot of space for production buildings. But yeah, this is my tiny town. For those who aren't familiar, I'm staying within the original 4 expansion by 4 expansion, so 16 by 16 space that you start in the game, and I'm now in the postmodern era. And I have a lot of goods too, so I should probably just move up, but oh well, say la vie. Yeah, I really like the tiny town. I think it's a fun strategy. And actually, now that they got rid of the earlier speed up, you're able to do it too. Previously, there were quests that required you to place expansions. So a question in Q&A from Jim, which is, will the Quantum Incursions game push you to play all the settlements? And the answer is, sort of. So I've actually already played all of the settlements except for Mughals fully. So I have Yggdrasil right here, the Shinto Temple. I have, where's the Egypt one? I have the Royal Bathhouse, the Aztec Sun Temple, and I'm just working on finishing up Mughal. I'm currently on my fourth playthrough. 4th of 10. So, yeah. It's not going to push me to complete them more, but I think the super strong rewards for the settlements that are changing. So if you go to support.innogames.com, you can check this out. Here we go. So, for example, the Yggdrasil. Oh no, the formatting. The Yggdrasil gets, you know, super strong attack boosts, tons of forge points, tons of goods. The emissaries are super strong. You know, all the buildings are getting really, really strong. So I think Quantum Incursions wouldn't get me to play the cultural settlements more, but these extra boosts definitely will. Like 365 goods, previous era goods, but still, it's absolutely mad. Like 500 guild goods. So these buildings are a lot better. And actually recently teased on, like in the assets, we've seen that they have temporary upgrades incoming. So this is coming courtesy of Nova. Look at that. They're like orange upgrades now. So this is Yggdrasil and the Shinto Temple. So they get temporary upgrades. So I'm guessing you'll complete a round and get a super strong upgrade. And yeah, I think it should be fun. Also in the announcement, in this announcement, somewhere in here, they mention that Where is it? Maybe it's at the end. This is just the beginning. They'll be doing another way on forum spoilers there altogether. Thank you, Nova. So after it launches, stay on your toes for another wave of cultural settlement enhances, which in my mind, all right, and this isn't confirmed, I think they're going to be taking a look at the gameplay loop and basically figuring out a way to make them a little bit more fun, or at least that's what I'm personally hoping for, and give them a little bit more replayability. So if all that, comes true, I think I might end up playing them more. That's a very roundabout answer to that question, which is that no, Quantum Incursions won't push me to play all the settlements, but I think the changes coming to them and the better rewards will definitely be pushing me more for that. No wishing well generator. It's definitely an option, but personally, on my, I don't really have the time to just constantly loop settlements. I wish I did, but not for me right now. Dragon Ring asks, did Inno scrap reworking the quest lines? They wanted to change the story quest line, and the answer is yes. So actually going back to the support page. I don't know where they announced this. Maybe beta announcements? No. I don't know. It's probably on the knowledge base somewhere. I just don't know where it is. They announced that they decided to scrap that. And more or less, let's see, is it on the US forum? I can't type forum. Yeah, there it is. Basically, they figured out that it didn't really work how they wanted it to, so they got rid of it. And it kind of broke some stuff, so I feel kind of bad for support. They had a lot of issues to deal with. But yeah, it's just no longer a thing. And if you didn't know, there was a test recently where, for the past couple of months actually, if you started the game, the costs for everything were reduced, the quest lines were completely changed. Like, for example, side quests were just gone. And yeah, it got removed. You got a question, how is this only has 14 likes? You might want to refresh, because for me it says 55. But yeah, if you want, feel free to like. We love to see it. Hit all the buttons. I don't really call that out anymore. Background game music gives me a Pink Floyd vibe. Yeah, this is the Space Age Venus song. I just sort of pulled a lot of the music from the game. There's some ones I didn't play, like, which ones didn't I include? Where did I put these? There's some music in the game that's just really intense. So I didn't include them. Yeah, some of the settlement ones, Halloween, something that was a little bit darker. I wanted to keep it a little bit more upbeat. But yeah. The game has some really nice music. Actually, that's a question. How many of you actually play with music on? I don't think I've played with the music on since I started playing the game. So I've put a poll up if you want to vote, do you play with music on or not? Seems like no is the dominant answer. Only in Halloween event, the music was banger. Yeah. The music was good. Yeah. I know usually for me, I just turn on the music to whatever I'm listening to instead of whatever the game has. So, whole music running? Yeah, exactly. This game has music? Yep. The little icon down at the bottom, turn music on. I I've had it off for years. But they've done a really great job with the music. Um, Especially the Guild Battlegrounds theme. If you turn that on when you're in Guild Battlegrounds, th that that song is fire. That song is fire. You have a speakers corner and have never played with music. Wow. So 95% of you watching right now don't play with music. Yeah. St. Patty's Day when your daughter's around. Um, yeah, the St. Patrick's Day event theme. I don't think I included it in my list of music here because it's a little bit obnoxious, right? Like if I pause this and turn game music on, yeah, a bit obnoxious. They should update the game music. You like it, but it gets repetitive and boring after. Yeah, I agree. The issue though is right with a lot of things in this game, like updating graphics, things like that, updating the music, is that it just makes the app get bigger and bigger and bigger and make the game harder to run. Um, so it's kind of like how do you balance that? But um, yeah, I would like more music. I know if you use FOE Helper, there's a tool in there that you can use to control the music if you wish. I just keep my FOE Helper very, very bare bones. Um, but you do you, right? Should do a poll like, what's your favorite Forge of Empires song? Or a Forge of Empires parody contest? I'll end that poll. So we ended with 92% of players playing without music, which I think is pretty standard. I couldn't tell you the last time I actually turned music on just to listen to it. Usually play with no music, but like the Vikings music, yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some standout tracks that are really, really nice. Um, it's just that most of the time, if I'm playing, I've got a YouTube video open on the side, or so yeah, I don't think actually in terms of like games in general, I usually don't play with music on unless it's like a story-based game. How's this auction doing? Ooh, 125,000 for a Pirate's Hideout kit? Yikes, might be a bit much for me, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna buy that one. Let's check in on some of these cities. You've got this YouTube video on the side when you're tending your own town. Exactly. Yeah, I almost always have something open on the side when I'm playing the game. You play the game a little different. You've created a beautiful city. When am I going to do another city rating video? And how do I get you to look at my city? if you want me to look at your city immediately, you can join my Discord server and post it on there. But currently, my general idea is to do a city rating video every 6 months or so. So sometime during the summer is when I would do the next one. Basically what I want to avoid is, it is good for like 45 seconds, yeah. Is I want to avoid looking at people's cities that are basically the same time and time again. So I'd like to do stuff a bit more spread out and have a bit more breathing room in between it. Just so that it's not the same thing over and over and over. We would call that an event. Biochemistry on the side while watching this. You know, I think I'm obligated to say do your homework, but yeah, hopefully this makes it a little bit more enjoyable. I was never good at chemistry. Physics, yes, you know, but chemistry I just can never wrap my head around. So kudos to you. Yeah, this town at the bottom right, I'm basically freestyling. Here we need some more of that. Yeah, I will say Forge of Empires was a very good game to play when bored doing homework or bored, you know, looking for something to do instead of homework. That's pretty much how I found it, is that I was putting off homework. So I can definitely relate to that. So for me, I think the homework might have been, what was it? It could have been physics. It could have been physics that I was putting off. Oh, and something I should probably mention. I keep track of the leagues across as many worlds as possible on my Discord server. So if you want to help out, you can click the form that's posted in my Discord server, the St. Patrick's Day event channel, and what you can then do is use a form to try, where with the data that you've submitted, I'll try to predict the final league progress for each world that's submitted. I don't know how accurate it is. We're testing it out, but the more data you submit, the better. And it makes for some cool graphs. Forge of Empires is the gateway drug? To what, though? What is Forge of Empires the gateway drug to? Spreadsheet gaming? Wait, that's not 26. 10. I think I might have submitted one of those worlds wrong. Nope, I did it all right. Cool. Bring this over. Ignore all the scary. Forge of Empires is the gateway to more Forge of Empires cities. Ain't that the truth? So, for example, this is for my main world, US 26, where I'm keeping track of league progress. You can see this is where the mini challenge happened. So we had a massive jump in the gold league and a small jump in the silver league. These are found in the St. Patrick's Day channel inside the events forum. So I'll just grab a It's in the pin posts, or you can also find the form in league stats. So if you go into my Discord server, look for the events, and then you can get it in league stats or 2024 St. Patrick's. And then in the league stats, you can get access to the form to send the prediction. But it only really works if you have enough data. Otherwise, it's just, you know, pretty inaccurate. But you can see, like here, I'm predicting about 782 progress for the final gold league for my main world. So, we're actually no, yeah, 782. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what might be the numbers that you're looking for, and if you're spending, you know, how much will that cost? Consistently about Silver League, yeah. I'm about at the same point as you. I might be a little bit further ahead. Yeah, I'm 47 tasks ahead. You can join my Discord server at https://discord.gg/ubernerd14. Yep, join in. We'd love to have you. So I think there should be enough pots of gold to make it through. The question is, you know, are the other players spending pots of gold, or are they just using the free ones too? Because once people start to run out, I think the leagues will start dropping and being a lot easier to stay in. But we have to get a little bit farther in the event before that happens, because a lot of players are still, you know, finishing up their quests or other things like that. Yeah, join in on my Discord server. We have a lot of fun. Whether it's discussing weird things or, you know, just some fun. So please join in. We have 2,228 members, and if you need help with your cities or just questions about the game, that's a great place to ask. And I try to keep all of you updated there. You know, if something interesting happens, like a mini challenge, I'll notify people there. Spending their hard-earned diamonds. Yep. I mean, you gotta spend them somewhere, right? Gotta use your seed vault somewhere. Does Discord work on a Chromebook? It does. It does come as an app, but you can also access it via the web. Discord.gg/app, I think is what it is. Discord.com/app. Yep. And then since I think he's still in chat, Chiller Polino is asking, is Himeji Castle 91 worth keeping? I can't pin this stupid thing. There's a button in the way. I'm gonna screenshot this so you all can see this too. I need to hit these three little dots right here to pin it so that you all can see the comment, but I can't click them because the little reaction thing is in the way. But, oh, true, as Jan just said, diamonds are only for alabaster. My bad, I'm incorrect on that. Speaking of which, if you are on US 26 and you have alabaster, please let me know. My stock is running low. Thank you, Marco. I'm glad to see the league results getting submitted. As I said, the goal is to eventually use it to predict how the leagues end up, and it also lets me say, you know, next year, when we look at the St. Patrick's Day event, assuming the tasks stay the same, I can just say, like, hey, the leagues last year were this amount, so if you want to spend, expect about that, you know, league progress for your world. I'm still working on a better way to figure that out, but yeah, The more data, the more better, basically. And thank you for submitting. And Glenn says, cool, thanks. Recently got FOE helper from finding you and the cow cat. Good. Glad to hear that. Yep, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Lots of nice people willing to help. I'm starting to think that maybe I should have staggered the start of these cities instead of starting them all at the same time, pretty much. Makes it a little bit tricky to keep track of all of them, but yeah. What's my opinion on Space Carrier? Ooh, that's a good question. And the reason is that I think the Space Carrier is really great for two specific cases. And that's either for building a diamond farm where you need wishing well shrink kits, because it's a good source of those if you negotiate. And it's also a great source of special goods for, you know, Promethium or Calcum, Space Age Mars, whatever that is, Mars ore, and all the other Space Age ores, if you want to speed level it. But personally, I've been leaning towards deleting mine soon because I don't really personally get a use from it. So I would probably be deleting my Space Carrier soon. But if you know are aging up through the Arctic future and Oceanic future, it's a great choice. So it really depends on your situation. If you staggered them, you'd be non-stop tending them. Yes, I would be. Yes, I would be. But hey, madness is awesome, right? What advice would I give to help beginners finish Guild Expeditions level 5? I would say just focus on events. Right? Like the Celtic Tavern. The Celtic Tavern here, look at that. It provides 60%, a total of 89% at this level in my age for completing the Guild Expeditions, right? You're going to get tons of defense, attack boosts from event buildings. So when you build that up, you also get the goods, and if you can't fight, you can just negotiate through. It's going to be really expensive, it's going to hurt at first, but once you play a few events, it won't really be an issue. We need more Seed Vault propaganda. I agree. If you want to make some, I'd be happy to post it. But if you're actually on my Discord server, you can type !army, and you'll get the image. Oop. Maybe not get the image if it doesn't want to copy it. Here's the image. I want you for the Seed Vault army. So, yeah, join the army today. The Seed Vault army. I highly recommend it, even if you spend money on the game, right? A level 100 Seed Vault is about $60 worth of diamonds free every single year. That's a decent investment, right? If you're going to be playing the game a while, if you have multiple cities, that's a great choice. So join the Seed Vault army. Oh no, it's getting cut off by the chat. There we go. Yeah, I like the Seed Vault. It's probably one of the most underrated great buildings right now. Excuse me, right now in my opinion. Is there enough benefit to bother leveling it past 100? It depends. I mean, 100 isn't necessarily the best place to level it either. Just sort of level it wherever it makes sense for you. Like based on your forge point production, what other buildings you have to level. Yeah, there's no... It's not like the Arc where 180 is a hard cutoff. It just sort of is diminishing returns the farther you level it in terms of diamonds per forge point. Good question though. Currently level 11 since about 2 weeks after installing it, but hey, level 11 is still great. Yeah, get those seed vaults up. I will say though, please focus on playing the game first. Don't level a seed vault at the expense of all else. I have gotten a couple messages from players saying, you know, please stop pushing the seed vault because everyone in my guild is building it, and you know, now they're forgetting to level their arc or something like that. So please just seed vault reasonably. We have a question here about the spreadsheet, and that's a good question. So the question comes from Killer Kex, and it's sometimes the guide wants to upgrade the shipyard before the festival, but the festival is the bottleneck, so isn't that inefficient? And well, the reason is that what we're doing is, yes, leveling the shipyard first, but by doing so, we build up a large stock of goods on this side of the river. And then what happens is once we level our festival to, you know, the next threshold where it gets a multiplier, it eats through that whole stock that you've been building up. And that lets you finish leveling them both at roughly the same time. So you could think of it like, otherwise what would happen is you would level like your festival individually, and you would be running out here, but it just makes it a bit simpler for players to handle, if that makes sense. Like, in terms of scheduling. Nova says the more vaults, the more alabaster for everyone. Yes. Yep. More alabaster, please. Next plan after arc level 80, I would be focusing on either attack or the blue galaxy. Both of those are really strong right now. So building up attack boosts, but you get a lot of that from event buildings or working on the blue galaxy to boost forge points. Is the observatory about to be more needed in quantum incursions? No, not at all. The blue galaxy, or not the blue galaxy, the observatory, right, currently has support pool and guild goods, neither of which is used in quantum incursions. And once guild versus guild is removed, this support pool will actually change into defense boosts. So it'll no longer be support pool. And you don't need defense boosts or at least these defense boosts don't apply in quantum incursions either. So I would say it's not really needed. But the observatory is still pretty good for guild expeditions and guild battlegrounds for guild goods. It's a logistics issue, yes. Yep. If you really want to dive in deep with the event minigame, I'd recommend checking out Mooing Cat's simulator for it, where you can really like mess around with manager levels and building leveling strategies. I can talk. Building leveling strategies to figure out the most optimal for your situation. Chub Doggy says, I'm thinking of deleting my level 120 Alcatraz. Are you crazy? No, not at all. And the reason is that we are getting some event buildings that are providing a lot of units. Do I have it here? No. The next event building for the anniversary event, for example, provides units, and one of the other buildings provides fast units. Yes, I'm sure it was water that I was drinking. I can provide not very good proof. I can send you a picture of a clear liquid in a metal container. So, Is that considered proof? I don't know. Um, yeah, I think we are going to see a lot of Alcatrazes getting deleted. It's just a question of, um, will you have enough of the unit you need to fight? Because, for example, right now in the Space Ages, fast units have really been the unit of choice. But what happens with the next age if it's water from Russia? What happens in the next age if instead we're using light units, right? We're going to have to switch over to using a lot of, where are they? Cider gardens, right? Because these provide light units. Or what if it ends up being that we switch back to using champs instead of a unit of the age? Well, then we're gonna need the Alcatraz. Um, so um, it's really, do you want to hedge your bets that you're going to be using a specific type of unit for a long time? And that's a bet that I'm willing to take, probably, if I get enough buildings that provide units, that is. It'll take some time before that happens for me. All right, but everyone, it has been 3 hours long of a stream so far. So I'll answer up some final questions, but then we'll probably be ending this soon. So thanks for hanging out. I'll answer any final questions that come in. Otherwise, yeah. Thank you all for being here and hanging out. Hopefully I answered some of your questions in a sensible way and that you might have enjoyed Uber's art stream. And Q&A. Thank you for the stream. Yeah, thanks for being here. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Hopefully I should have a video coming out on Monday. That'll be update 1.278, and there might be some spiciness in it. So be sure to drop it and watch it. But otherwise, I'll see you on Discord and in the comments, and thank you all for hanging out. I'll let the stream catch up, and then I'll end it. Very nice to finally catch a live stream. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. Bye. Bye, Nova. How long stay in industrial age? All right. Adios.